Welcome back to Think Outside the Board and another edition of the Crowdfunding Roundup. In this week's episode, I'm still playing catch-up from my anniversary trip where I was traveling around Oregon with my wife, Kristen. This will be the last catch-up video. So in this video, I'll be covering the campaigns that launched between June 7th and June 13th. And then from that batch of launches, I pick my favorites of the group, the ones that I think are your best bet. So if you're new to Kickstarter, you can use this video series to help you just cut through the glut. It's a quick way to locate what I think are the best campaigns out there that also assess some amount of risk and help point you towards the campaigns that are the least risky. If you have more experience using Kickstarter, you could use this video series just as a quick way to see everything that's launched that's worth your time in the last week and just save you a bunch of time having to look through Kickstarter and kind of sort through everything that's launched. The best way to support this channel at this point in time is still to like and subscribe. You can also hit the alarm bell so that you'll get notified every time that I post future videos, more content. That will keep you in the loop. And in the back half of this year, I'm planning on relaunching my teach and review video series in my upstairs studio, which I'm still working on updating. I'll be doing that with newer equipment, so everything will look better. And I'll also be launching a new live stream series in which I'll be playing everything from medium light to heavy strategy games and Euros, storytelling games, campaign games, narrative exploration games, dungeon crawlers, and legacy games, and also solo games. As always, my videos are tabbed or bookmarked, so you can scroll over the play bar and see exactly the content you're looking for and just go right to that content. Also, you can go down into the description section down below, and I have links to all of the campaigns that I'm talking about. So if something really interests you and strikes your fancy, you can go down into that description section, click on the link, and it will take you right to that campaign. Now we have 9 campaigns to go over this week in this video. So I'm just going to get to that. And then at the end of the video, because I'm shooting this on a Monday, it means that most of the campaigns that I may be covering in the video that will launch at the end of the week on Friday have already launched, except for Tuesday's launches. Now, Tuesday is historically the biggest day for launching board games on crowdfunding. So most of the games that I'll be profiling in the next video aren't live yet and won't be live until after I've edited this, but I do have a couple games that were launched earlier in the week that I'm pretty sure that I'll be profiling. So if you want a bit of a peek ahead to what will be in the video launching later at the end of the week, stick around for the end and I'll mention the 2 or 3 titles that I'm pretty sure will be included in that video. Without any further ado, let's get started with our very first of 9 crowdfunding campaigns this week. The first of these is for Worldbreakers, the Indigo Sisterhood, which is on Kickstarter. It launched on June 7th. As we can see here, they have a funding goal of $10,000. They're currently at $26,000, and the campaign is going to end on June 21st. If we scroll down a little bit further, we can see here in these pledges that the campaign is aiming to deliver in March 2024. So we've got a window of, about 9 months until this campaign hopefully delivers. Now, if you are interested about what this game is, because this is an expansion, we can go over to Board Game Geek. We can look at Worldbreakers, Advent of the Khanate or Khanate. This is the actual base game here. And this campaign that we're looking for is for an expansion. So the base game's been out a little bit. It's just delivering right now, but enough people have played it to rate it an 8.1. And as we can see, there's 26 reviews, so it's a decent amount of people. It's not such a small number that, it's only the publishers or friends of the designers. They're starting to get some real people rating this. So this is probably a fairly reliable score at this point. The weight here is a 2.5. I tend to count everything that is a 2.55 or higher as a medium heavy game. That means that this falls in the medium light range. And if we go down a little bit further here into the mechanisms, we can see that this game uses action points and deck construction. Deck construction is the big mechanic for this one. Hand management, open drafting, variable player powers. There's also a solo version of this game. So you can always come over here to Board Game Geek, and you can look and see, various playthroughs and videos of this game if you want a little more information and see what the base game plays like. Let's just start here looking at the video here, and so you can get a look at the world and just kind of how the game plays from their video here in their campaign.
Worldbreakers is a tactical card game set in an alternate 13th century Asia. You are a word breaker, an individual who can harness the mysterious substance lithium to magnify your natural talents. Over the course of the game, you will recruit followers to control the board and develop location cards for resources and power. Reach 10 power to win the game, forever reshaping history. We are delighted to introduce the first expansion for Worldbreakers, the Indigo Sisterhood. The Indigo Sisterhood will add over 14 new event, follower, and location cards for all 4 guilds, along with 2 new playable Worldbreakers. Miriam, who is seeking the Indigo Grotto in the service of the Muhandisat, and Kublai Khan, who is revealed as a distinguished master of the Stars Guild. The set will also include the next chapter in the Worldbreakers solo campaign and the new dice-based standing tracker. If you don't have a copy of the base game, this campaign is your chance to get the second printing of the Worldbreakers, Advance of the Khanat. Last but not least, there are several awesome add-ons, including a giant 2-player playmat, oversized cardboard versions of Miriam and Kublai Khan, and a set of wooden lithium and power counters with silkscreen printing. Join the Indigo Sisterhood and journey to the grotto this expansion for Worldbreakers.
Now here's the thing, there's like a million Magic the Gathering kind of spin-offs, deck builders, living card games. I don't often profile them because a lot of those customizable card games or living card games, if they're not a known IP, if they're just being launched by a new entity, there's so many of those, and there's very little to recommend one over another. And those kinds of projects are really big. They kind of demand some kind of competitive play and tournaments to stay fresh. And it's really hard if you have an IP that's not well known to build that kind of community and get that going. So a lot of the time I don't cover those kinds of games just because 95% of the time they're just going to die on the vine or shortly thereafter. So why am I showing you this one? Well, the designer here, his name is S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and if we look down here, Ellie got the Dungeons & Dragons Red Box as a birthday gift for their 6th birthday, forever becoming a gamer. They have been a playtester and the New York tournament organizer for Android Netrunner and a playtester for Star Wars Destiny and numerous board games. Ellie has been dreaming of designing and producing their own games since childhood. Worldbreakers is the fulfillment of that dream. And then the other designer here, Jamie Perconti, has worked as a Magic the Gathering judge, consulted for Fantasy Flight Games, and currently serves as a rules manager for Null Signal Games. I think what we have here is some people who are just very, very experienced, and so because they have so much time with Magic the Gathering, Android Netrunner, Star Wars Destiny, you've got people that have really sat with these mechanics and these kinds of games and really know what they're doing. And if you look around this campaign, you'll see quotes from other content creators, and they really kind of attest to that. And everything that I've seen really speaks to someone who's been inside the models of these other games and kind of has experienced them and spent their time learning them and living them. And so this new game, well, it's not quite new because it has a base game, but that it's been designed by people who kind of really understand how this works well. And I think that sets it apart from other games of this kind that are just being, developed by fledgling game designers that maybe don't have that same kind of history in the genre. So that is a lot of why I'm highlighting this, is just the kind of pedigree behind the designers and their experience with these kinds of games. I think it sets them apart. So we've got basically 4 different kind of pledges if we're going to look at what you might want to get with this. We've got Worldbreakers, the Indigo Sisterhood. This is just for the new expansion. This obviously means that you already have the base game. So this is going to be something for people that already have that and are just looking for the newest content. And if we go over here, we see that in North America, backing some level of the Indigo Sisterhood here, it's going to carry a $15 shipping fee in the continental US. So that means this pledge here is going to be $40. The next pledge here is a retailer pledge. This is essentially a retainer for game shops that are going to be pledging for a bunch of copies. So this is not a pledge that we need to concern ourselves with. From there, we go to the Worldbreakers full collection. This is a bundle. So this is going to include the new expansion, the base game, and then a card doubler. And the card doubler, if you've played things like Aeon's End, you're familiar with this. It will give you enough other copies of cards that you will need in your various characters so that you can have a full setup deck for all of the characters, and then whenever you want to play the game, you can just grab that character pack and go. If you don't have that card doubler, then depending on what characters you decide to play, you may need to, swap in and out some of the supporting cards that make up those individual character decks. And it may mean that there are certain characters that would require certain cards that you can't play together. So that card doubler just allows you to do more quickly and get to those characters with a full deck just immediately, have everything kind of preset. So the pledge price for this pledge is $80, and the shipping is going to be this $15 amount plus an additional $5 for the base game. So you're looking at $100 in the continental US, including shipping, for the total price here. Then we go to the deluxe pledges, and they've got one for just this new expansion, the Indigo Sisterhood Deluxe. This one's going to come with a shipping price of $20, so you're looking at $105 for this. But that means that you're also going to be getting a 2-player playmat and these giant cardboard cards for your Worldbreakers themselves. That's the characters that you're playing. You'll also be getting these silk-printed wooden Mythium and power counters. So these are an upgrade from the cardboard counters that come in the non-deluxe version. Finally, we've got this Worldbreakers Full Collection Deluxe. So that's going to be all of those upgraded items, but then you're going to be adding back in the base game and the card doubler. And the shipping price for this is going to be $20 for the deluxe plus an additional $5 for the base game, for a total of $25, or a total of $165 for this pledge in the continental US. Finally, there's this pledge. This is very limited though. Obviously it's very expensive. It's not something that most people are going to be looking at, but this will have your image drawn into a card in the game. There's only 5 of these. So this is not going to be a pledge level that most people are going to want to deal with. Finally, we can go over here and look at some of the add-ons that you can, separately add on to your pledge. These are things that, maybe you don't want to do a big pledge that includes all of these things and you just want to pick and choose some of the add-ons that you want. So that giant 2-player playmat can be added on for $35. There's a Worldbreakers map, a single-player playmat, for $18. Another single playmat. They've got a few of these for $18, just different things, different designs on them. Here are the oversized cardboard Worldbreakers. These are just larger versions of the leaders that you're going to be playing at, and this is an add-on for $10. But this comes with all of the bundles. So anything where you are including the full collection, that means either, so not this one, this is just the expansion, but this Worldbreakers full collection and the deluxe full collection, that includes this. And then again, here are those power counters that are included in the same pledge level. And you've got the base game for $40, and you've got the card doubler for $15. So those are all the things in add-ons if you want to just pick and choose the additions that you get, and you want to customize your pledge more than just picking one of the pre-arranged, pre-designated pledges. Now, as we already mentioned, this campaign is planning on delivering in March of 2024. Finally, I should just mention, this campaign, out of all of the 9 that we're looking at today, has the least amount of time left, so it has 40 hours left. I'm shooting this on a Monday. I hopefully will get this posted Monday night, but if not Tuesday. Either way, this campaign should still be live when this video goes live, but it won't be for long. It's going to complete its campaign Wednesday in the late morning, depending on where you're living. But again, Worldbreakers, the Indigo Sisterhood, is on Kickstarter. Our second campaign is called Witchcraft. This one launched on June the 8th, and it's over on Gamefound. And this one had a funding goal of $13,000. They're currently at $46,000, so this is well funded. And they've got 15 days left. The campaign is going to end on July the 5th. Now, this game, Witchcraft with an exclamation point, is, let me show you here, with an exclamation point. It's actually a re-implementation of a war game called Resist. So we have 2 games that we're looking at today that have been re-implemented from war games into fantasy type settings. And I think that's really interesting. It's sort of like some war game publishers and designers, I think, are trying to open up their designs to wider audiences beyond just war game audiences. So this game, Resist, was... One of the designers here is David Thompson. He's one of the co-designers, and he's done a lot of war games, and he's also created a lot of crossover games. So here's David. Some of his most highly rated games include the War Chest series, which I think most mainstream gamers have heard of. It is a war game series, but it's also an abstract game series. There is Undaunted, the whole Undaunted series that David's worked on. This is a war game series with moving around some tiles. You're using card play, and it's super accessible. Again, it's kind of really taken off with mainstream audiences. And then he's also designed some other more conventional war games like Pavlov's House, Resist, Castellans. The more you scroll down in his list of designs, the more you're going to find these kind of conventional war games. But he also did do Sniper Elite, the board game, which is still a war game, but something that appeals to video game fans. So that's David, and he's a great designer, and I think it makes sense. This game's fairly well rated. It's a 7.7. It's fairly light, 2.12 is just over the line from light to medium light. So this is not a difficult game, but it's possible that the war game theme is keeping some audiences away from it. And as we can see here, it says Resist is a fast-playing, card-driven solitaire game. That's something I haven't mentioned yet, but this is a solo game in which you take on the role of the Spanish Maquis fighting against the Francois regime. Over a series of rounds, you undertake increasingly difficult missions, and completing missions earns you the points needed to win. Failing to defeat missions and enemies may cause you to lose. Okay, so they've taken this whole design, and they have re-implemented it, reskinned it, as a game built around witches. And here, even the text is the same. Witchcraft is a fast-playing, card-driven solitaire game where you lead a coven of witches in a fantasy world where magic is real and so are the monsters. Building on the hidden, revealed mechanism of Resist, you will decide when to use magic to defeat the challenges you face, revealing yourself to your fellow villagers and being imprisoned for witchcraft. Okay, so we've got all that set up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video and see what the game and the gameplay looks like here. All right. So it gives you a little bit of a look at the art up there. And here, a solitaire game where you lead a coven of witches in a fantasy world. And let's just go down a little bit more and take a look at some of this. What is this about? They're just kind of repeating some of the things I've already read. The game is played over a series of rounds. Each round is divided into 6 phases. Play witches, choose mission, play remaining witches, resolve mission, go to trial, and recover. So you're using, there's a lot of card play, and you're kind of determining the order that you do things. And it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle game, a solitaire game. And I like the new theme. I like this kind of witch system. What's new? Building on the hidden revealed mechanism of resist, Witchcraft includes a new theme and a lot of new features that brings to the table a totally new experience. So you've got this juror system. It also introduces a ton of variability because you only use 3 of 8 jurors at a time. That means there are 56 different juror combinations to play, each with their own unique missions and challenges. So depending on the jurors that are present, it's going to change the puzzle of the game. And there are these witch families. All right, and then we come down here to the pledges. So there's multiple language editions, but if you're looking at just the base game, it is $22. Shipping, where is that? Down below. Here we go. Production and shipping. In the USA, 12 euros, which is probably about $13. And if we go back up, that means that this is going to be about a $35 pledge, maybe $36. And that's it. Everything else is just multiple language editions or pledging for multiple copies. Now, let's take a quick look and see if they have the delivery date. They don't have the delivery date listed here, so let's go back to production and shipping. Okay, here we go. All of the art and design is final. Depending on the number of backers, production time may vary, but our plan is to start shipping games as soon as possible, possibly October, November. So I'd probably take November as the target date for this, knowing that, this is sort of a loose goal. It could easily go later, but I definitely wouldn't kind of assume that you're going to have this in October. I think November is probably the best case scenario for this. So it's not a very expensive pledge, obviously. It's only $35. It's a solo game. It's card play driven. And, if you've ever been interested in checking out Resist, or, if you want to see what a board game designer like David Thompson does when he transposes something from a war game theme to a fantasy theme, this might be the game for you. And it's a way to get your feet wet in war game board gaming with a more accessible theme at not too hefty a price. So this campaign is on Gamefound. And from here, we're going to go back to Kickstarter for Burning Banners. And this is the second campaign in this video that we're looking at that is re-implementing a wargame design. So this one is from Compass Games. And I guess I shouldn't say that they're re-implementing a wargame design because they aren't directly reskinning anything in this. This is just a wargame company called Compass Games, and a wargame designer and artist, Christopher Muller, who is taking that kind of game, that kind of theme, those mechanics. And Compass Games is a huge wargame publisher. But Rage of the Witch Queen, they have made a fantasy game here using more wargame mechanics. So unlike Witchcraft, it's not like a one-to-one re-implementation. This is just essentially a wargame game in a fantasy theme, but it is original. It's not being, reskinned from something else. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one.
500 years have passed since the world wound. Plotting her sinister reign from the shadows, Lilith, the immortal sorceress, prepares for a return to power. The time has come to unleash vengeance upon this unsuspecting realm. Welcome to the world of Burning Banners, Rage of the Witch Queen, a tabletop fantasy board game ready to transport you to the heart of S.T.A.L.K.E.R and put your command skills to the ultimate test. Lead your forces, Forge alliances and shape the destiny of 6 unique kingdoms as you explore this magical world across 4 hand-drawn boards. Designed and illustrated by acclaimed fantasy artist Christopher Mueller, Burning Banners is brought to life with a breathtaking fusion of immersive artwork and engaging gameplay that grows with your group. With 29 scenarios, you can experience the tactical thrill of a battle within an evening, or dive into an epic conflict spanning more than a decade. Choose your kingdom wisely, for each holds a pivotal role in the conflicts to come. Build your army from the array of units at your beck and call. From utility miners who gather gold deep beneath the earth, to elite fighting forces, to the mythical wilds of feral rat hordes and towering frost giants. Level up, unleash the might of heroes, monsters, ancient magic, and powerful artifacts in the advanced game. Whether you join forces with the invaders or stand with the resistance, every decision you make will shape the fate of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Will you heed the call?
Now, what I think is really cool is there is a huge crossover in terms of war games and fantasy games in the scope and some of what they're trying to do. And it seems like this is really, I'm surprised this hasn't happened before, right? Because you can have these huge campaigns in war games, you have huge campaigns in fantasy games and dungeon crawlers, and there are combat systems that work in war games that could be easily applied, to a fantasy campaign game. And even though to non-war gamers, war games can seem kind of dry, a lot of them are actually not that complicated. A lot of war games are actually kind of on the lighter side. So they're not that hard to pick up. I think maybe other than the theme, actual war, some people don't want to reenact that or don't want to gamify that. I think the thing that maybe keeps other gamers away from war games is the fact that sometimes they're more inexpensively produced. And so you get things you saw in that video, like the player cards or, the little chits and tiles and things like that, that aren't really that attractive. They don't look amazing on the table. It's maybe not going to be something that's going to bring people into the game who kind of walk by. And I think that'll be an interesting thing to see, is if that's a barrier to entry, and fantasy gamers don't want to jump on this because of some of the, I actually like the art, like some of the art on the tiles, the character art, but there's certainly not miniatures and all these kind of cool cutting edge components or mechanics. This is still kind of tried and true wargaming on a new package, and it may not be pretty enough for some of the modern hobby board gamers. But it's doing pretty well so far. They had a funding goal here of $12,500. They're at $54,000, so this thing is very solidly funded at this point. It launched on June 13th. It is going to finish on July 13th, so it's going to end up having about a month run here all told. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see that this thing is planning on being delivered in February 2024. So you're looking at about a 6-month window from the campaign until delivery. And that's not unusual for war games. A lot of this is already done behind the scenes, the design, and the components aren't that difficult or expensive to produce. So oftentimes war games have a shorter delivery window than some of the kind of fancier complex Euros and dudes on a map games with all of these minis and extravagant components and things. So there's only one pledge here. It's $89. There's obviously a huge campaign. They talked about this in the video. Plays to 2 to 6 players. And if we go down here, we see that in the continental US, you're looking at $14 in shipping. It means that the total pledge here is going to be $103. for people in the continental US. And there aren't add-ons for this one. There's not a lot of extras. You're just getting this game and this fantasy campaign for that price if you choose to back. Okay, so that was the second war game of the week of the video, and that one is Burning Banners, being published by war game publisher Compass Games. All right. From there, we're going to take a quick look at Castellans of Valeria. This is the latest Valeria game. There are a lot of these, and I think the art on all of them is done by the Micho, who people probably also know from the Garphill games, all of the North Sea games, of the West Kingdom, of the South Seas they're now doing. He also does a lot of work for Final Frontier games. And let's see. Okay, so here it is, Castellans of Valeria. And this one, there's a lot of games in this series, so, certain mechanics and things set some of them apart from others. In Castellans of Valeria, players will compete to build the most impressive jurisdictions in the city of Kosk with hopes of becoming its next Castellan. But this is no easy task. It requires players to navigate the complexities of construction, to pit short-term games against long-term goals, and to decide between the assurance of small payoffs now or the possibility of larger payoffs later. As construction continues, the local magistrate wanders each district of Kosk, casting judgment upon everyone's work at different times. All right, now this is a dice drafting and area majority game, if we just kind of boil it down to those two. And this one's being designed by Isaiah Vallejo, and I think he's done a bunch of the other Valeria games. Yeah, so he worked on Valeria Card Kingdoms, which I have and really love. He's also done Villages of Valeria, Quests of Valeria, Margraves of Valeria. He is, I think, the most prominent designer in the Valeria series, and I believe, let's take a look. Daily Magic Games may be his publishing shingle. Yeah, see, Isaiah Vallejo. So there are a few games in the series that are designed by other designers. I know Stan Kordonsky's designed at least one or two games in the Valeria series, but the majority of them are designed by Isaiah Vallejo here. So let's take a look at the video and see how this game differs from the other, remembering that it's the main mechanics here are dice drafting and area majority.
Dice drafting and area majority are the key features of Castellans of Valeria, the newest title in the Valeria universe of games. You will build temples, manors, lighthouses, windmills, and ships in your bid to control city districts. You'll erect monuments, recruit citizens, and gain resources from drafted dice. You'll also buy and sell resources at the wharf and compete for guild influence. You'll manage your available tokens, resources, evolving player powers, and dice on your double-layered player board. Castellans of Valeria plays in about 90 minutes and is suitable for 1 to 5 players, age 14 and older. Everything in the Valeria universe of games is illustrated by the Micho, with a detailed game board and engaging citizens that draw you deeper into the city at the core of Castellans of Valeria. Pledge now for Castellans of Valeria, published by Daily Magic Games.
Okay, now this is something that you should know if you've backed these Valeria games before. Because, in a lot of cases, people are always trying to decide, do I want to back this on Kickstarter? Do I want to wait for it to hit retail? And the Valeria games are great. And I think oftentimes they go to retail with, not too differently from their Kickstarter versions. But there are some changes happening in the Valeria universe. It says right here on this page, DMG, that's Daily Magic Games, the publisher, is now a boutique games publisher with this campaign, beginning with this project. Daily Magic Games will no longer release new products through the game distribution system. We will only print games to fulfill our backer demand, plus 250 copies for their web shop. That means that this is not going to retail, and that's different because look at this. They've done 25 different projects. They have made a lot of games in this series, and if you're not reading the fine print here or kind of noting this on the website, you may just assume, hey, this thing's going to retail. Everything else that they've produced has, and that's not true. Okay. All right, so let's just look at some of their previous campaigns here. So we've got Riftlands and Guild Academies of Valeria. This is the last one that was probably going to head to retail. There's 3 new Valeria Universe games. You've got Thrones of Valeria, Dice Kingdoms, and Siege. There's Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria. This is an expansion for card games, Crimson Seas. They've got Margraves of Valeria. They've also, occasionally done some games outside of the Valeria universe. Here they did Chocolatiers, Villages of Valeria, Valeria Card Kingdoms, Shadow Vale. So this is another expansion. Just a lot of Valeria stuff. Previous Valeria expansion Kickstarters, Quests of Valeria. They've just done a lot in this series. So things are changing for them now, and Valeria is no longer going to be going to retail. And if we go ahead and we look at the pledges here, these are retailer pledges. These are group pledges. That's a double pledge for 2 games. And you can see this is the first game that we're looking at today that I've already backed. And this is really the only pledge if you want the game. So it's a single pledge, $49. If we go down a little bit further, we can see what the shipping is. So in the continental US, you're looking at about $17. So this is going to make this about a $66 pledge. And I really like the Valeria games. They're all a little bit different. They're lighter, but they have some pretty good choices, and they're really well designed, in my opinion. So I think this is a good price point here. And Daily Magic Games has just delivered so many games. I think you can be very confident about getting your pledge for this in a reasonable amount of time. And we can see here they are planning on delivering in May of 2024. And I'm just going back up. Obviously, there's some videos here. You can go check out the gameplay. There's a lot of really good content creators who have put up videos for this. But I am just making sure that there are no add-ons. And I don't think there are. I think this is kind of an all-in-one thing. If you pledge this pledge, you're getting everything, all of the stretch goals and upgrades. I don't think there's anything to add on. But I'm just scrolling through this quickly to double check. And yes, that is correct. So it is all-encompassing. Everything is in this pledge. $66, continental US. They had a $10,000 funding goal. They're at $34,000. So they are funded. The campaign launched June 13th. In fact, all of the other campaigns that I'm going to be talking about for the rest of this video all launched last Tuesday, which was June 13th. And this campaign is going to end on June 30th. And as I already mentioned, it delivers in May 2024. So a little bit less than a year off. All right, that is Castellans of Valeria, really good publisher. And here's another game from a really good publisher that I'd recommend. This is Faeries and Magical Creatures. This is by designer Glenn Drover, who's worked on things like Lizard Wizard, Raccoon Tycoon, Mosaic: A Story of Civilization. All of those games were published by his company. It's called Forbidden Games, as is this one. And the art on this is by Annie Stegg. I believe her name is now Annie Stegg Gerard. So I think she got married, but I'm not 100%. I just remember I knew her in the past as Annie Stegg. But she's done a lot of the artwork on their previous games. So if you know what the artwork for Raccoon Tycoon or Lizard Wizard looks like, you're going to be getting the same art here in this game. And Glenn Drover has also designed things like Railways of the World. So he's a designer that I really like, and he's worked on heavier games, lighter games, train games, just a whole lot of games, a large amount of games. Okay, so we've got 2 pledges in this one, really. There's actually 4, but some of them are more for postcards and posters and things like that. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, let's take a look at our stats here. So we've got a funding goal of $25,000. Again, this launched, as I said, everything else is a June 13 launch, including this one. They're at $65,000. So they are funded, and the campaign will end on July 7th. If we scroll down a little bit here, we can see that this is intended to deliver in October 2023. November for some. It depends what you're pledging. If you're just getting like the postcards here, you're looking at an October date. If you're getting the game, if you're getting the cheap version of the base game, you're looking at August. If you're getting the tricked out version, you're looking at November. And this is also November as well. So, I think we should just call this campaign November. That's the kind of furthest date. But no, if you're pledging this cheaper version, the level 2, you're going to be getting it a couple months early. But we're going to say November for a delivery date for this one. But that's still this year. It's not that far out. And Forbidden Games is not a company that makes promises that they don't keep. So I think August and November are, even though they're soon, I think these are accurate timelines here. Okay, let's take a look at the video and then we'll look at the pledges.
Fairies and magical creatures. Available now on Kickstarter. From that midsummer night, when you and your great-aunt Victoria gazed from the garden gate of her country manor and saw the will-o'-the-wisp lights blinking near the edge of the forest, the adventure began. What are those blinking lights, you asked? Well, those are the fairies, my dear, Aunt Victoria responded, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. From that moment, you knew you had to get close to those lights and befriend a real fairy. You wondered what magical secrets the fairy folk might reveal about their powers and their lives in the magical garden. As you move quietly nearer and nearer the blinking lights, you start to make out small glowing shapes flitting near the edge of the forest. They seem to know that you are there, and you wonder if they are as curious about you as you are about them. One day, Aunt Victoria suggests that you could plant the fairies' most beloved flowers in the garden behind the manor. But will the fairies come to the garden? And come they do. Welcome to Fairies and Magical Creatures, a truly magical board game experience where you'll discover 30 unique fairies, from Flower Fairy to Butterfly Fairy, and the Mushroom Fairy to the dwarves and trolls, nymphs, boggarts and centaurs. Gain their trust and help them save their fairy realm. You'll start by picking cards with enchanting artwork from award-winning artist S.T.A.L.K.E.R. 5 different fairy realms will allow you to create kinship and strong ties, or focus on enlarging your own fairy world by building the ultimate fairy garden. The choice is yours. The Fairies and Magical Creatures game combines fantasy, strategy, and easy-to-learn rules with stunning visuals in a game that you can play in less than an hour. It's great for avid gamers and beginners, even when they play together. Fairies and Magical Creatures, from the creator of Raccoon Tycoon. Available now on Kickstarter.
Okay, so let's take a look back down here at these pledges, right? We've got the first one here. Well, I didn't even count this one. We've got this one just to support the campaign, right? You throw $1 in, and that way you can jump into the pledge manager later. Then they've got this level 1, which is just postcards, really. Share award-winning artist Annie Steggerard's artwork with your friends. Beautiful gift box includes 102 postcards. So this is, a $39 pledge, and this is going to ship. Well, I guess it's in October, so they still need to kind of put this together. It's interesting, though, that the game is going to ship earlier if you just get the base version of the game. So this is for an early copy, hot off the press, your chance to be one of the first people to own a copy of the Fairies and Magical Creatures base game. This will deliver in August, and this is a $49 pledge. Okay, and let's add shipping in, right? Let's do that. So if we go over here, we look at shipping. For level 2 here, continental US, you're looking at $9, so $58 for this pledge. Then we go to level 3. It's $89. Shipping is a little bit higher, almost $13 there. So you're looking at about $102 for this pledge. And then if we go to the next level, you're just taking that previous pledge here, this level 3, this kind of, all-encompassed deluxe version, and you're adding back in that postcard pack and a poster. And so this is, the biggest, the most expensive pledge here. With this $25 shipping, you're looking at $164. But the only thing that you're getting in level 4 that you're not getting in level 3 is the postcard pack and the poster. So it's nothing game related. So let's take a closer look at this level 3. How is this different from the earlier, cheaper version of the game that's going to be delivered a couple of months before? Well, this is going to have premium game components, plastic fairy kinship tokens, extra large color printed wooden starting player fairy token, 3D miniature fairies, and player scoring tokens, tarot-sized player starting fairy cards, and a silk bag. So it's just, it's the deluxe version of the game with better components. And if you want this version, you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer. Okay, so here's level 2, right? You're just getting game board, all this stuff. They're not even showing it right here. And then here is the extra stuff. And they detail what's been kind of swapped out. So instead of this thing, you're getting an upgraded extra large color printed wooden fairy acting player token. And then they've got all this stuff pictured down here below. So, you can go over here and take a look at this if you want to see these extra components. And let's see if they detail them. I think they do below, kind of show them off a little bit more. So here are these kind of fairy components. Right. It looks like they have it all kind of in one listing. So I believe right here, right, these are like a wood player scoring and action pawns and stuff. And then you get down here and they've got these upgrades. So somewhere in here, imagine a line. It's probably around here. And then everything below it, the silk bag, the translucent gems, this kind of extra, this big player marker. I've just played Mosaic, A Story of Civilization lately, and that has a huge first player marker that looks very much like this. And I actually like it. It's pretty cool. But this is obviously the upgraded components here, the ones that are kind of lower down on this list. And then here's that poster. So again, if you are backing the deluxe version of this, you're looking at a November 2023 delivery date. And this is Fairies and Magical Creatures from designer Glenn Drover, artist Annie Steggerard, and publisher Forbidden Games. From there, we're going to go back to Gamefound for Firefly the Game 10th Anniversary Collector's Edition. Now, this is a publisher called Gale Force 9. The game that I'm, most familiar with that they've done is Tyrants of the Underdark, which is, I think, a little bit different from a lot of their other publishing because, let's take a look here. So Tyrants of the Underdark is actually their highest rated game. In ranking, not rated necessarily. Although this is a great game, I think maybe it actually deserves a little bit higher than a 7.9. But in terms of ranking, Tyrants of the Underdark is their best known game. They also did Dune. This is not Dune and Imperium. This is the upgraded version of the old Dune game. It's just called Dune. But from there, everything else, a lot of these are kind of IPs taken from other media. So they did Firefly, the game originally back in 2013. They've also done Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery, Star Trek Ascendancy, Sons of Anarchy, Men of Mayhem, Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core, Doctor Who, Time of the Daleks, Homeland, the game, another Dune game. So it's just a lot of IP that they've taken from video games and movies and TV and stuff like that. But Tyrants of the Underdark is how I know them. This is a great game. And I know Dune has its fans as well, but it's been a little bit eclipsed by Dune Imperium, which is a great game too. Anyway, that is the publisher here behind Firefly. And a lot of these designers have worked on a lot of those IP games. So if you're just, kind of wondering who the designers are and what they've done before, They've done a lot of those games with Gale Force 9. And this is mainly a pickup and delivery game, Firefly. But it's got stuff like area movement, variable player powers, and stuff. So, Firefly is one of these things where it just has this huge built-in fan base, much bigger than probably what it should be for a one-season show and a movie that didn't do that well. But their funding goal here was $100,000. They're at $1.5 million. So this is super well funded, and there are obviously a lot of people that want this theme, this IP, and this new tricked out version of this game. So this one also launched June 13th, and the campaign's going to end on July 6th. Let's take a look at the video here, and then we will go back and look at the pledges.
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand.
There we
I
go.
don't care, I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me. In every corner of the verse, from the bustling core worlds to the quiet border planets, legends whisper the tales of the ship that could outrun Alliance cruisers and reavers alike. A ship that carried a ragtag crew, each a misfit, each a hero. But now, it's time for you to make your own legacy. Find a crew, find a job, keep flying. You can't take the sky from me. Introducing Firefly, the game. The 10th Anniversary Collector's Edition. Soar like a leaf on the wind as you navigate the black as you've never seen it before. With hand-painted A-grade resin ships and a neoprene mat spanning the verse. This special edition includes every expansion ever created. From the untamed wilds of Kalidasa to the shut-up dangers of the Blue Sun, we're giving you the whole damn verse in all its glory. You'll also discover a brand new high-stakes expansion, Still Flying. Make room for Monty's ship, thrilling capers, and a slew of new jobs that will challenge your mettle. Every promo card ever issued is here, ready to spice up your game. Plus additional deluxe components including custom ship dice, chunky credit bills, and a certain traitorous dinosaur. And you can fit all this into the huge Goram crate that fits snugly into your cargo hold. Shiny. Remember, in the verse, we aim to misbehave. Gather your crew, take the helm, and find your own piece of sky. Welcome back, Captain. I'll be in my bunk.
All right. Okay, so there are two pledges really for this one. You've got this upgrade kit. So this is going to be if you have, the previous version of the game and you want all of the new stuff. And this is a little bit tricky because there are add-ons, and we'll get to those, but they don't have all of the previous expansions as add-ons. So you can't pick and choose. So even if you had, the previous version of the game and you had maybe one expansion, there's no way to fill that out through this campaign without just getting, the new full version of the game. So the only way that you want to get this upgrade kit is probably if you have all of the stuff previously, or if you don't care about having the extra expansions. And I believe previously there were 4 kind of main expansions. Of course, through this campaign, you've got a new expansion, and then you've got all of the other old stuff like all the promos and mini expansions and stuff like that. So this is an upgrade kit, and I'd be a little bit wary about getting this unless you literally have everything, from the past. Let's see. So in this upgrade kit, you're going to be getting the hand-painted resin ships, the neoprene mat, 12 custom ship dice, that enamel first player token, all the promo cards, so you will get that through this, the new expansion, Still Flying, custom insert, and the cargo box. So you won't be getting any of the old expansions, and there's no way to add those on. So, like I said, the only way you want to pledge this is if you either don't have those expansions or don't want them. Other than that, you're looking at this one, this pledge, and this is $220. This is kind of all told everything ever made for Firefly Collector's Edition. If we go down here to shipping, though, let's take a quick look at this. So the upgrade pack, where are we in the USA? Fairly expensive shipping for the US, another thing to think about. So, I mean, look at this. In the continental US, it's $35 for the upgrade pack, or $40 for, you know, the big thing. And like if you're in Alaska or Hawaii, oof, that's more than double. So this is not going to be cheap shipping wise. So if we go back to this, this means that in the continental US, you're looking at $165 for the upgrade kit, or $260 for the anniversary edition here. And this thing is going to deliver in January 2024. So, you know, you've got about 6 to 9 months on this. And then let's look at the add-ons. So for add-ons, you can add on more copies of the collector's edition for $220. And there's some, I think, let's see. Yeah, these are different language versions. You've also got that upgrade pack, so you can do that. You've got the playmat, if you just want the playmat. You've got some upgrades here, this cargo hold, shiny token 4-person set, an upgrade in components, but read the fine print here. It's not included in the collector's edition or the veteran pilot upgrade kit. So if you want this, you're going to need to add that onto your pledge, which is going to increase it $40 over whatever it was before. But that is something that you will need to add on if you want these upgraded components. And then they've got some other stuff, some other Firefly games, Flux and these other 2 games. So, you know, you can add on some of these things. You probably want to add on this token pack if you're trying to really go all in. But you can't get the various expansions here as add-ons, which means, you know, if you don't have them and you want them, let's say you have the old base game, you're just going to need to sell it and probably upgrade to the new collector's edition. So anyway, this is on Gamefound. This is the new Firefly campaign, and we'll come back to Gamefound one last time before we finish this video, but for now we're heading back to Kickstarter for Phantom Epoch. And this is the biggest wild card of this week of the video. This is a new publisher, new designer. They have not delivered a Kickstarter before, so I wanted to pass this along to you because there's a lot of good, I think, in this package, but there's also a huge question mark since it's new designer, new publisher, doing a Kickstarter for the first time. We can see that they had a funding goal of $21,000. They're currently at $68,000, so they did fund, and the campaign is going to end on July the 13th. Let's go ahead and watch the video, and then we'll talk about pledges after.
In Phantom Epoch, up to 4 players can work together to take on the 40 mission campaign. As players travel across 3 different planets, they will unlock hundreds of character upgrades, including weapon attachments and equipment. They will also upgrade the starship that serves as their headquarters, giving them new advantages both in and out of missions. Adversaries are controlled by a combination of species and class cards. This, along with an evolving event deck, brings new and exciting challenges to each round of play. With branching story paths, player choices will determine which mission they unlock and play next. Every mission is handcrafted and completely unique, with differing objectives and challenges. The push your luck card and attack dice systems mean that every choice you make has a significant impact on the outcome of a mission. Each round, players will select as many cards as they want to play during their turn. The higher the total card value selected, the later the player will go. Every action card may also be converted into basic actions, allowing players to adjust their strategy on the fly. At the start of the campaign, players will create their characters by selecting their species and starting class. Players will continue to customize their character as they gain skill points to unlock new action cards, new advanced classes, and even augment their character with cybernetics. No 2 characters will ever be the same. With each mission averaging 2 to 3 hours, the Phantom Epoch box contains more than 60 hours of gameplay in a single playthrough, and much more if players want to experience all there is to offer. Are you ready to embark on this epic adventure?
All right, I thought that video did a really good job of laying out everything that it's about. So it's a dungeon crawler, although it's, a space dungeon crawler. And I really like what I'm seeing with a lot of these kind of storybooks. So you'll see them in a lot of the Ryan Laukat games like Sleeping Gods. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion used one, I think, to great effect. And I really like the idea of having this storybook that you can kind of page through, and every page has a new map, a new location, things like that. I think it's a really good solution and a quicker way to get a game to the table rather than having to constantly set up a new board with tiles every time you go to a new location. This way you just flip the page and you're already at the next location. So I'm really liking that solution. And in general, this huge kind of dungeon crawler campaign here set in space, there's a lot that I like about this. 40 missions, a 60 to 80 hour co-op campaign, awesome. I'm really excited by this. And, this could be the next Gloomhaven or, kind of the next big campaign game that we're seeing here. But we just don't know, right? It's a new publisher, new designer, so it's kind of untested and it's a bit of a wild card. So just know there is a lot of risk with this campaign, with backing this more than usual, because it is a new publisher and they haven't produced or delivered a game before. Now, all of that said, there's definitely a lot of potential for this to be cool and to possibly become like a great new IP. ISS Vanguard, that's another game. That one from Awakened Realms that used those kind of storybooks. Okay, so we've got two different pledges in this one. You've got the standard edition. This is for $70. Does not include miniatures, game trays, the custom tracking bases, the deluxe mission books, or the Phantom Epoch upgrade board. There is also an expansion here called, where do we get to? This Arsonist expansion. And no matter what level that you back at, you need to add this on if you want it. So it's going to be an extra $30. There is a deluxe version down here. It also does not come with the Arsonist. So you're always going to need to add on that if you want everything. So it's $70 for the standard edition. If we go down here to the shipping in the continental US for the standard edition, you're looking at $91 all told. If you were to add on the Arsonist, it would be an additional $30 for that add-on, plus an additional $3 in shipping. So you'd be looking at $114, I think. And if you're going for the deluxe edition, it's $115 US plus $23 in shipping, so that's $138. And then if you're doing the Arsonist, it would be $171 to add on the Arsonist with shipping. From there, we've just got, a retailer deposit and then some early bird stuff. So your main decision here is whether you want the base game or whether you want the extras. The extras. Okay, so here we can see what's in the standard edition, right? You've got these plastic standee holders, you've got your map, you've got these upgrade cards, and then here in the deluxe version, here's all the additional things you're going to be getting. So you've got Spot UV on the box, you've got this extra expansion called the Volanin, which is going to include 2 more miniatures and 2 medical character species cards. You've got these character miniatures, and there are 20 hit point tracking bases. You've got these standee bases. You've got 2 deluxe mission books. You've got this deluxe Phantom Epoch upgrade, of course, game trays, character trays, and then down here it just shows you everything that's in both versions. So all this stuff is in both versions of the game, but it's that middle deluxe section that shows you everything that's in the deluxe game only. And then one thing that they did mention that was in the deluxe is this one, this Volanin species expansion. Here's a closer look at what this looks like. So you've got these character standees, the miniatures, and these cards. So that's the difference between the two versions, and they're going to be delivering this in June of 2024. So this is a year away. And again, this is on Kickstarter if you're looking to back this one. Now, from here, we're going to go back to Gamefound for the final Gamefound campaign of this video. This is for Stalker the board game by Awaken Realms. Awaken Realms is kind of done huge things in the last 5 or 10 years. They did this War of Mine, the board game. They've done Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, ISS Vanguard, all the Nemesis games, Etherfields. And Gamefound, actually, this whole platform is created by Awaken Realms. So their goal here, their funding goal was $50,000. They are at $2.1 million. I think that's going to be the richest campaign of this video. And they are going to finish this campaign on the 4th of July. Let's take a look at the video, and then we'll come back and take a look at the pledges.
S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game, is the next major game from Awaken Realms. It is a 1 to 4 player, fully cooperative dungeon crawler game with a dark, branching storyline and innovative format of play. You can either experience 3 mission story campaigns combined into a full-scale storyline, or play one-off zone survival mode, created by Michael Oratz, author of This War of Mine, the board game. This unique campaign system brings the best of 2 worlds, a great immersive story and ease of bringing the game to the table. Start your adventure as a true solo or with a group of friends. Then you can switch to any other configuration between the games. Explore the dangerous world of one of the most intriguing universes of all time, S.T.A.L.K.E.R, set in Chernobyl and full of mutants, anomalies, bandits and secrets to discover. Choose your S.T.A.L.K.E.R, each with unique skills, specialty and a backstory. Then equip him for the mission. Will you pick a shotgun or an AK-74, Cossack vodka or a bunch of bolts to check anomalies? Use your strengths and cooperate to complete various objectives, ranging from saving a fellow stalker from torture to destroying a secret lab. Choose your own style. Either sneak in and carefully mark all enemies, or come in guns blazing, alarming everyone. But remember, the zone has no mercy on you. And your enemies, anomalies and mutants, are a force to be reckoned with. Sometimes it will destroy your plan, with toxic radioactive rain coming out of the blue. Sometimes it will help you, when mutants will eliminate a bunch of bandits that were just about to kill you. Survive through deeply thematic missions and pick up whatever you can. Loot, bullets, or even mysterious artifacts. In the zone, everything can be sold, and preparation between the missions is a key to survival. Discover the secret of the mysterious transmission, similar to the one that happened just before the Chernobyl catastrophe, in a branching storyline where your choices are respected and change the world map. Survive the zone and live to tell the tale. Back the campaign now and get a special Gamefound edition of the game.
So let's talk about pledges. First up, we've got for $95 the core pledge that's going to get you the board game and the stretch goals. And let's include shipping on this. So they've got 2 different versions of shipping. You've got single wave, which means this is a little bit cheaper, but you're going to get everything later in January 2025. Or you can do a split wave, and so you'll get the base game first in April 2024, and then a lot of the expansion and extra content later in January 2025. But look at the shipping. So if you're doing this single shipping in the continental US for the core pledge, it's $27, whereas it's $45 if you're doing the split wave. And that is, I'd say it's about 1 3/4 the shipping. So it's not twice as much, but it's like 1 3/4 the shipping. So you are paying a lot. And I'm going to just use the split wave numbers as we're going through this. So if you decide to do single wave shipping and get everything later, you will save some money. But we're just going to plug in these numbers for the split wave shipping. So $45 For this pledge, we'll bring it to $140. The adventure pledge here for $165, and that's going to add on these zone threats, which are miniatures essentially. And so if you do the split wave shipping for this one, it is $49 in shipping, which is going to bring this price to $214. Now, if you go for Sundrop, which is something they'll ask you when you're doing the pledge, that Sundrop is a wash, so all of the miniatures get washed in this. It adds shading to it, makes it look a little bit better. But I believe the Sundrop is an additional $70. So if you choose that in the pledge manager, it's going to increase your pledge. So that means that this would then be, instead of $214, it would be $284. And then the last pledge here is this Explorer pledge. We're going to come back to this in a second. Is this pledge, and this is going to add on a few more things, a terrain pack and an anomalies pack. And this one has a $57 shipping fee if you're doing split shipping. So that means that this is going to be $276, but then if you were to do the Sundrop for that would then increase that to $343. Okay, and let's come back to this. So what is this legacy chest? Because this is $200. And here, read right here. Get ready to dive headfirst into the zone with the all-new S.T.A.L.K.E.R Legacy Collector's Chest. This is purely a collector's item and has no gameplay value. So, if you pledge this thing, you are getting everything that you could possibly get for the game. This you could also add on for an additional $200, but it's not getting you anything for the game. It's getting you this very kind of generic playmat that you could use or not use. It's getting you a lot of pins and things and this huge kind of miniature, but I mean, look at this. This is not a gameplay miniature. This is something you display on your shelf. So a lot of the price of the $200 of this is, I'm sure, for this huge kind of display figure. And they talk about the various items down here. Kind of show this in more detail. It's really cool, but I don't need to pay $200 for this diorama. It also includes a metal box here, this metal poster, these coasters, patches, this neoprene playmat, and these magnets. So none of this is gameplay related. This is just all really cool stuff. And I suppose because this is based on a video game series that started in 2011. I think there's been 4 video games made in the series. But if you're a huge fan of the series, then maybe this is something that you'd want to get. I would think if you're just in it for the board game and you don't have a relationship with the Stalker theme to begin with, this might not be something that you would feel the need to add on. Although it is a really cool miniature, diorama miniature. Now, back to this. They're saying here that this is going to deliver in April 2024. But if we go down here, we are reminded that that is only for split wave, and that is only the front half. Everything else is going to deliver in January 2025. So I would use January 2025 as the delivery date just in general. And I don't believe, let's see, we've got some add-ons here. So again, they're showing you this collector's chest with all of these extra, non-gameplay goodies. And then they've got the other things here. This Monster Hunter, I believe, just comes free to everyone who's backing this. It's just a Kickstarter bonus. So I don't think you need to add this on unless you want multiple copies. And then here are the anomaly, terrain, and zone threats. This is the miniature pack that you get at different levels. So the only reason that you'd need to add this on is if you were backing a lower level and just wanted some of the things, but not all of the things in a higher priced pledge. As you can see, this is something that I've backed. For now, I'm actually considering maybe canceling this pledge, but for now I've backed this, and that would be my second pledge of this week. So this finishes our look at Gamefound for this period, we do have one game left on Kickstarter, and this is my personal third and final back of this period. And this is for a game called Thiefdom. They had a funding goal here of $32,000. They're currently at $92,000, and the campaign is planning to end on June 30th. And if we just want to go down quickly and look at the delivery date on this one, this is December 2024. So, I mean, this is kind of interesting because this is a smaller pledge. The pledge for this, the only pledge for this, is $32. So this was like an early pledge that's all gone. So this is a smaller game with a smaller pledge here, but the delivery is, a year and a half out for this. So this is going to not deliver for quite a while. Now, this is being run by Juma Al-Juju, who is the founder and CEO of Karma Games. He is the designer, and Karma Games is the publisher of Clans of Caledonia, which is very similar to Terra Mystica and Gaia Project. And I think that Clans of Caledonia is actually my favorite of those three games. It has very similar mechanics, but I think I like the implementation of it better in Clans of Caledonia. And I'm a fan of this designer, and I'm really curious to see what he's done next here. And as you can see, this is a thematic strategic pick up and deliver Euro. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll come back and look at the pledge prices.
After the critically acclaimed Clans of Caledonia, Karma Games brings you another ambitious big box game, Thiefdom. When the Great Masters Guild fell, the thief guilds of the Rhine Valley lost their leaders. Following the old tradition, the new Master Guild will be decided by competition. Rival guilds must seek fame and fortune to win. The contest is set in a wealthy medieval German town, famous for its fire wine. As the head of a thieves guild, you will have to guide the fortune of 3 thieves, exploring the town, discovering valuable oil paintings, supplying smugglers, robbing the nobles, and getting to know the right friends in the tavern. In this strategic, interactive, and thematic pick-up and deliver game, 1 to 4 players have to be careful when they step out of the shadows. The city guards, controlled by the players in alternation, seem to know about you and tirelessly patrol the narrow streets. New equipment or friendships enable new actions and strategies to get more out of every round. Take risks to fulfill smuggling missions before your opponents can, but don't be too bold, or you may be arrested by the city guards. Thiefdom contains a modular board with 8 double-sided quarters of the city, 36 stunningly illustrated friend cards, and 12 different equipment cards for infinite game situations and outstanding replayability. Immerse yourself in the intrigues of a medieval thieves guild. Tie your boots, gather your equipment, and get ready for Thiefdom.
And you probably noticed that the art here is also by the Micho, who did the art for Castellans of Valeria that we looked at in the start of this video. So he actually has 2 games that he did the art for that are profiled this week. Okay, so back to the pledges. As we mentioned, though, there's only one pledge price, and it's fairly cheap, $32. And if we go and we look at the shipping on this to get a total, and again, I always do this in continental US, since that's where I am, it is 20 euros for 1 copy of the game. So that's where this is going to get a little bit more expensive, because 20 euros is about, I think, 22 US dollars. Yeah, 22 US dollars. So that's going to bring this pledge from $32 to $54. It's just a huge amount in shipping. But probably not surprising when you take into account that Karma Games here is located in Germany. So this is a game that's going to be coming to us from Europe. But I'm a huge fan of Clans of Caledonia, so this is definitely something I wanted to pass on to everyone to take a look at. And the Micho as well. I love the Micho's artwork. So here's kind of a quick look at the components. And there you go. It's all inclusive, right? It's just one thing that you can get in this, and it's going to include everything for that pledge. And unfortunately, it's going to be $54 for the continental US with shipping. And I think I mentioned it already, but it is planning to deliver in December of 2024. So this one will be in production for a while. That wraps this week's video. Thank you very much for watching and joining me this week. Hopefully there's something in here that was appealing to you and worthy of your time. I will be back with another video this week, probably launching on Friday. So by the time this goes live, it'll be about 3 days away. And the bulk of that video is going to include games that are launching tomorrow. So I don't necessarily know what those are yet. I still have to review them, but I do have a few games that have already launched that probably will be included. One of those is the new S.T.A.L.K.E.R game. It's called Invention, Evolution of Ideas. That definitely will be included because Vital is probably my favorite designer, period. I'm also going to be covering the Cristallo expansions. That is some new expansions for the game Cristallo, which is a light abstract game designed by Liberty Kiefer. That originally came out a couple of years ago, and she had some problems with the publisher at that time, but things have been resolved. She's back with a couple of expansions for that game. And then finally, I still need to decide, but I may also cover a game called Beverage. One last little thing. I will be appearing on Gaming Rules with Paul Grogan live on July 2nd. That'll be live streaming British Standard Time at 8 p.m., which means if you're on the West Coast, like I am in Los Angeles, it will be streaming live at noon on July 2nd, and if you're on the East Coast, 3 p.m. But it's going to be in celebration of Gaming Rules and Paul getting 900 Patreon subscribers, and we're going to be doing a sort of a quiz show. So Paul and I will be two of the contestants. I know there's going to be more content creators involved, but I just don't know who yet. I do know that Rick Howard is going to be running the quiz show part of the thing, so he'll be asking us board game related questions, and then we'll be competing to answer them correctly. And since I'm going up against Paul Grogan, I don't expect to do that well. He's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because I think he is awesome and one of the best people in the business. And even before I was making videos, I would often go to Gaming Rules to learn how to play games. And I think Paul is great at teaching games, reviewing games, and I just think he's awesome overall. And he works on a lot of rule books in the business, and I think any game that he's worked on the rule book for is better off for it. So hopefully you already know Gaming Rules. I'm assuming if you watch my channel, you've at least heard of Gaming Rules. But if you haven't for some reason, you should go check it out and certainly join me July 2nd. Depending on where you are, live streaming between noon Pacific Coast in the US, 3 p.m. East Coast in the US, or 8 p.m. July 2nd if you're in England. And then if you live anywhere else in the world, you'll need to adjust the time. But we'll be live streaming, and I'm pretty sure that Paul will eventually put that video up so you can just watch it on his channel on YouTube whenever. Again, thank you very much for joining me. Check back at the end of this week on Friday for a new video that will bring us current with everything that launched up through Tuesday of this week. I will have more types of content premiering later in the year. My own teach and review videos revamped, live streaming videos, and in the meantime, just keep enjoying these weekly crowdfunding roundups where I go through all of the crowdfunding campaigns, pick the best of the bunch for you, at least in my opinion, and try to both save you some time and point you towards campaigns that will be a little bit less risky than some of the other things that you might fall into or back on your own. So have a great week, play lots of great games, and hopefully I'll see you again at the end of the week on Friday. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.